Before my injury, I danced, and I thought I would never be able to dance again. So this has totally changed my perspective about activities and about life. And
I was kind of hooked. It's fun, it's challenging.
And it's also something that can really open someone up. It can really boost someone's confidence. I know it really boosted my confidence.
And it really adds colors to the black and white wheelchair life.
Having a disability takes away some things that you can't do, but there's a lot that you can do. Sometimes it takes a little bit to discover that your own abilities of what is possible to do.
You know, a lot of people think that that people with disabilities can't do certain things, and they're usually wrong.
Do what you can. Just because you're in a wheelchair, we could still dance like anybody else, maybe even better.
I had been aware of American DanceWheels for actually several years and was just lucky to find out that they were going to be here. And as soon as I discovered that, I signed up immediately, and I've really enjoyed the experience since.
But I know it's always dark before the dawn. Voice inside of my head was heavy. It was so hard to forget it. Used to hold it in, but now I let it go. Who knew emotions could be so damn physical? Oh yeah. I'm gonna celebrate this feeling on my own.
Welcome back to the New American Youth Ballet Presents. Today, I'm so excited to have the founder, Melinda Kramer from American DanceWheels. And I reached out to you, Melinda, I don't know, a few weeks back, where I was looking for a section in our ballet, Life of a Dancer, that would feature dancers in wheelchairs and dancers with all different things that they've overcome and been able to dance. And I'd like to hear more about you began this in honor of your daughter and developed like a whole syllabus of ballroom dance, all for the wheelchair that enables people to move and to get on the dance floor and compete and be a part of things. And I'm so excited and honored to work with you and your beautiful dancers. So just if you can tell us a little bit about how you got started and what performances are coming up and just a little more about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for including American DanceWheels, for our wheelchair dancers in what sounds to me like is going to be an absolutely terrific ballet or dance piece. And it's heartening to know that people with disabilities will be represented in your show, because they should be, because people that use wheelchairs can dance. The start of our organization was simply happenstance. I mean, it just happened. My own child, my daughter, Jenna, was disabled at the age of 11, and she became, dependent on a walker and then a wheelchair. And it was completely out of the blue for us. And we were thrown into, and obviously a new world, a completely new world. And my husband and I were ballroom dancers. We did some competition work, that kind of thing. And I was used to it because I was a performer. I was a singer. And so my background as a singer, he was more of a technical dancer. He is a surgeon, so he enjoyed that part of it. I came at it strictly from standpoint of performance and artistry. And so it was a new thing for me. And I was loving every minute of it. And when Jenna became disabled, I decided that I couldn't dance anymore either. She actually was taking ballet and jazz and tap, and she was quite good at it, actually. And also came at it more of a technically rather than as I would have. But she was very visual. I was able to see all the steps and everything. It was very helpful when she began to use a wheelchair, because as someone uses a wheelchair, it requires some pretty heavy duty skill to be able to adapt a step, to understand how the wheelchair works. So that what happened was we happened to have a very good friend that was also had become disabled. He had actually become disabled at 19 from a car accident, and so he used a wheelchair. And this was like, I guess, 10 years into his injury, which made him very proficient in the chair, and he was very athletic to begin with. So he decided he wanted to dance, and he knew us, and he said, "Boy, I'd like to go with you guys dancing." And we were like, "Well, okay, you could, and a very, very she was a wonderful dance teacher. She said, "Well, of course, I'll figure something out." And so she began to work with him. She was the first person to work with him.
And who was that? Was that Aubrey?
Her name is Laura DeLugash. And
okay.
Aubrey came much later in the game, but she actually started dancing with him, and she actually did a performance with him, a Viennese waltz.
Now she's a standing dancer, or is she also
standing? No, she's a standing dancer. She's a dance teacher.
Okay.
And she adapted a Viennese waltz for one standing person and one seated person. And when we all saw it, we were like, "Wow, this is amazing." But she said, "Listen, Melinda," I said to her, "You've got to do more. You've got it." And she said, "Listen, I can't be his partner because I don't have time." She said, I'm a full-time. She was full-time in a studio teaching, quote, able-bodied dancing. So she said to me, "You want to be his partner? You can be his partner and I'll teach you." And so that's what happened. I started dancing with him, and she sort of working with us. And one thing led to another. We wound up in a different studio, but regardless, that's where it began. And because, we had stopped dancing, and because of him and because of her, we were able to start dancing again. And of course, Jenna was able to dance again. And so it was just, like I said, happenstance. The most important part of this, though, is how it affected other people, because when people began to see Ray and I dancing at clubs, practicing or whatever, dance teachers wanted us to come and dance in competitions and also dance in their studios just as a performance piece. So we started putting things together, and one thing led to another, and it was like it took a life of its own, because it really wasn't about one guy who just wanted to pick up girls, which is why he wanted to dance. It wasn't about him. We realized it was about, many people who wanted this for their husbands or wives or girlfriends or brothers or sisters or mothers, fathers, whatever. And it just took on a life of its own. So yes, that's how it happened. And that's how all good things happen, right? They happen just out of something bad, sometimes something very good.
Well, under your story, I would love to have some kind of a tribute to Jenna with this movement that we're working on together. And so, we need to discuss maybe like her favorite color, maybe what, her favorite steps were, or some things that are visual that can be sprinkled throughout the choreography. And I was going to say before, when you told me to get a particular wheelchair, and I thought I had the one, and I was trying to do some turns in it. And then when I saw Aubrey and she said, no, try this wheelchair. What a difference. I really could see how it's so possible and how it moves and how you feel, I don't know, you feel like you're gliding. You can do things that way that we can't do, or we're walking or trying to do with choreography. So I was really excited by that.
The whole idea behind using a proper chair, is obviously not just for dance. You can only imagine what it's like for people who that's what they give them when they leave rehab or leave. It's tragedy, because
it's like a bad pair of shoes. You're uncomfortable all the time, or you can't walk. And
right. It's like wearing a pair of shoes that are either don't fit.
Right.
Too big. You're slopping all over the place, or they're so tight that they hurt or whatever. And that's exactly the way people feel that use a wheelchair that just doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
They can't work in the places that they want to work. They can't go into a restaurant, even if it's accessible, because maybe they need somebody to push them in. There's no. And they could, if they had the proper chair, they could be independent. And that's the name of the game, being independent and being able to do something like dance, just because you should be able to. So
absolutely.
And I thank you for, again, as I said before, I think it's very forward thinking of you, particularly since there isn't any particular person in your life that is in need of this. And what I find is that it's an eye-opener for people that don't have an experience with somebody with a disability, but somehow this came across to you, and I'm grateful for that. Very grateful.
Well, I know when we first spoke on the phone, I felt we clicked on some level. We both love dance, and there's something very important about this for so many reasons. And
right. And as all the other movements that you're thinking about doing, from every reason that people dance, what are the millions of reasons that people dance?
Right. Because Life of a Dancer, I want it to represent genuine stories. It's easy to contrive a scene, but if it's pulled from something real and genuine, obviously, how many years ago was it that you started this for Jenna? How many years has it been?
20 years. It's been 21 years.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's a very inspiring story to take a very difficult circumstance, but empower her. What were her favorite ballroom styles? What did she love?
She loved the tango the most.
Oh yeah?
For whatever reason, she really liked the tango. And what was really cool and really great about our syllabus is that we have had so much experience. Now, let me just say that American DanceWheels didn't come, we didn't have an organization in the beginning. So the organization really didn't take, form until I think 2006 or something like that. I can't remember now, but so it's been about 21 years.
It's a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit 501.
Yes. So the organization itself was sort of, again, we needed money because people wanted to do it and they couldn't necessarily afford it. And so we recognized the need to to reach out to organizations, that were like us, that might be able to help fund some of these things. And I know that you understand it. This is something that anybody that wants to do something good, there should be places where you can say, this is what we want to do, and we need help doing it. And so that's what happened to us.
And this is some of my mission for today's conversation, is I want to let people know to get behind this project, the Ballet Life of a Dancer, and this movement and this project that our organizations are doing together. That way all the dancers involved get paid, get reimbursed for their time, their rehearsals, and we put together something really beautiful and lasting. While a live performance might be a bit challenging these days still, and in the way that we want to shoot this, I know I was speaking with Aubrey about, in my dreams, I would love some of it shot overhead with a drone, so we can see formations. And so to do all these things does, obviously require a crew, professional crew, and they need to get paid. So the great part about filming something is it is forever. It's not one performance and it disappears. It's something lasting that I hope will be a really treasured memory for the dancers involved. And my hope is it will pay tribute to your daughter and the reasons you started this, and that this ballet will have stories in it that are genuine and empowering. And I could share with you some of the movements I've mapped out. This is the group of dancers. I think I showed you one movement from it, the dancers I'm working with in Indonesia. I like this ballet company because they're very correct. They're very, but they have a sensitivity, and I think they understand the music. So the movements I'm going to just share with you is the opening. It's like the little overture of the ballet. The next part, and I'm sure you remember when Jenna dancing on point. In her ballet?
She was not dancing on point. She never got to, I shouldn't say that. I think maybe I got her some shoes, and that was one of the things that alerted us to what was going on, because she was all of a sudden started getting clumsy. And what we realized was she didn't have the ability to feel the floor like she should with her toes. And it was weird, like we were giving her exercises to use, like pick up pencils with her toes and things like that. It was like all of a sudden this crazy thing started happening, and it turned out that she had a neurologic issue that actually was, you're born with it. You're born with it's a genetic propensity towards this, which no one else in the family has ever had. And it was, one of these things where, 1 in 100,000 people have it, and both parents have to have it, and both parents have to find each other and marry, and then 1 out of 4 children. So you're like hitting the lottery. And so that was, but that's an interesting, she wasn't able to dance on her toes because she didn't have I can't even explain to you, but it was almost like a neuropathy, but only in her toes. And then it began to move up her feet. And we realized that her proprioception was being affected. And so that's why she wound up using a wheelchair. And it's called Friedreich's ataxia. And what happens is eventually, not everyone, but some people, it involves the heart muscle. And that's how she passed away, her ability to coordinate that part of that muscle as well became impaired as well. And that's how she passed away. She died in her last year of college. So, yeah. So she went to college, she graduated, and
what was she studying?
She was actually studying, wanted to be a physician, and like her dad. And so she wanted to be a surgeon, but she wouldn't have been able to have the dexterity for it. So she wanted to do something other than that. She never got that far, obviously, to be able to decide what she wanted to do. But she was looking at alternative medicine and that kind of thing. So she was very, very scientific. Unlike me, I have zero ability.
I'm not either. And dance-wise, did she have any dreams that she always spoke about?
I would say that probably when she was younger, and she, I think that had she expressed a dream. I think it might have been maybe to even teach rather than more than perform. I think that she enjoyed let's put it to you this way. When the teacher had to go out for a phone call or something, she would say, Jenna, could you take over the class? Because she was able to see and remember everything that they had been taught before. So she was one of those kind of kids. She was more of an academic.
Our arranger for this, and I've shared this with you before, is Tim Simonek, who did the arrangements for movies like Up. He worked in Star Trek, Ratatouille, and he composed the music for Whiplash and did the arrangement. And what I didn't know is when I contacted him because of the sound. We were after a particular sound with this, and I didn't know he was a quadriplegic. I did not know that, and he recovered, and he worked with nurses, or he worked at a time digitally before it was a thing. You know what I mean? In the years that he needed it, he kept developing and working with software to enable him to do his work. But when I interviewed him, that really wasn't his story. His story was his music. And whatever needed to be done to make that happen was just, it was just things to move around, like moving furniture to clear the floor to go where he wanted to go. And I thought that was beautiful. I didn't know if that was his message, but his message was his music and the way it should sound and work that makes him feel alive. And so I think and my co-composer that wrote this with me is a music therapist at NYU. And all day long, he works with people with different, whether it be emotional trauma or physical trauma, and maybe something that they can't put into words. And he would just play for her. Depending on how she was walking, he'd play, a salsa or a rumba. He would just match her mood and her spirit. So I'm grateful to have all the different backgrounds that we all bring to the table. hope I shared that correctly.
Oh my goodness. It is just absolutely, I mean, it's just beautiful. The dancers are just beautiful. And the music, what I love about the music is that has a classical overtone to it, but there's so much life in it that, I think it'll resonate with all different kinds of people.
But I want to thank you again from American DanceWheels, and we will be in touch and look forward to your support out there for this worthy project.